Welcome, Neda, to this podcast about A Course in Miracles.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here, and it's kind of a funny story how we connected. It was
Yeah.
a group of A Course in Miracles students and we were watching the movie Take Me Home.
Hmm.
And we were so impressed with you and your voice liberation and what you did for Soul. And so I connected with you and then I said we would like to have what Søren had. You remember?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 Beautiful. And then now we're here.
And now we are here. And now we're doing, I remember you said I'm not doing that exact thing individually anymore, but I do groups. So we have a retreat now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it's a bonus.
Yes.
Because now
It is.
everybody can enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that even in groups, people always get exactly what they need personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a larger impact in the group
Yeah,
because other people can voice what I can't
for
voice, but it's for
sure.
me too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I am so looking forward to do this
Oh, me
retreat together
too.
with
Me
you.
too. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to come to Sweden. I've always
Yes,
wanted to go there, and I hear that this place that we're having the retreat is absolutely amazing. I have
it
my cousin
is.
living in Stockholm, and I never visited her there. But I just texted her the other day, like I'm coming to Sweden, that I would love to see her afterwards, and she's like, "Oh, I always wanted to go to the Highlands, and it's supposed to be so beautiful." So.
It is. It's a part of the World Heritage, and it's spectacular.
Hmm.
So that's a bonus as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And I always ask the same question, and that is how did the course find you?
Yeah, it's good. Indeed, how did it find me? Because that is how it feels. I honestly I feel, and maybe more people have this, as if everything else before the course was just a preparation to be able to s- receive the course's message. I feel like everything else before the course was just laying a foundation, and I keep seeing with more books. I even just the other day I picked up a very old book that I read when I was like 16 or 17, The Four Agreements, this beautiful book. You probably know it, from Don Miguel Ruiz, and I totally forgot about it. I vaguely remembered some of the Four Agreements, but right there, one of the first pages, it starts off by saying that the world is a dream, you know? And I was reading it, I was like, huh, that's interesting. Like, even before the course, I was reading these books that were preparing me for these big ideas, that the course is offering. But I'd say, like, the first book that directly brought me to the course. So the last book, basically before the Course in Miracles, was Return to Love from Marianne Williamson. And I was about I think 20 years old when I found her book in the library, and I resonated just so much with her quotes from the course. Like the moment I read the quotes, it was like, what is this? And my whole body was just tingling with energy every time I read the quotes from coming from the course. And when I finished the book, I was like, I just need to read whatever wherever she got those quotes from. I need to go directly to that. Um, so I remember going to the library, and there were two big blue books with the golden letters, and they just felt so magical to me. And I remember picking one out of the shelf in the library, and I was like holding it. I remember like hugging it. I was standing there, And I could just feel like, oh my God, this is going to change my life. And I had no idea yet. Nobody in my surroundings was studying A Course in Miracles. I didn't know anybody. YouTube wasn't a thing yet. I didn't know YouTube, so I couldn't even look up any other people that were doing this. So I literally didn't know anybody except for Marianne Williamson that I just read this book from, that was into the Course in Miracles. But ever since then, really, I couldn't let it go. I was just dragging it along with me everywhere I went, in the subway, in the train. It was in my bag, even though it was so heavy. I would always carry it with me, and I still so appreciate it, and it's so part of my life right now. So, yeah.
And you have made songs from the lessons, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that
Yeah.
that happened after about, I think I was studying the course for about 3 years. Um, and this was just I also read the book from Gary Renard, The Disappearance of the Universe, and I started to open up a bit to, maybe there's more people that are actually doing this, because my thing was always, and that has been very healing for me in this life, this sense of that I have to do everything by myself. It was always like, oh, just me, like even God, who needs God, right? It was everything just me. And even though it's a self-study course, I think it can be so helpful to connect with other people that are also studying this. And it was after 3 years of just studying it by myself, not knowing anybody, I find out that there was a Course in Miracles group in my city, in Rotterdam, in Holland. And I signed up for this group. And I remember it was a great teacher. I love her so much. Debbie is her name. And I remember when she heard that I was a singer, one of the first things that she asked me was, oh, would you ever sing about the Course in Miracles? I don't know where that question came from, but she asked me. And I was like, no, 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 no. I would never do that, because I had this strong concept of being, this pop singer, and I wanted to be this famous next, they called me the Rotterdam Alicia Keys. And I definitely didn't plan to start singing these spiritual, godly songs. But not too long after that, I went to Byron Katie's 9 days School of the Work in America. And when I came back, I think about 2 weeks after, um, all of these songs with lyrics from A Course in Miracles just started to pour through. In like 2 weeks, there was about, I think, 15 songs, and all the lyrics came from workbook lessons from A Course in Miracles. And it was just as if it was like a direct channeling experience of me just feeling like giving birth to a song, and it would come to me, and it's like, oh, writing it down, blah, it came out, and then another one, blah, it's like, it was really strange to me, because I never wrote about God. I never sang, I never used those words. I actually had lots of healing around that, I resented those words basically. And I know a lot of people have problems with that when they open up the Course in Miracles and they see, Holy Spirit and God and Son of God. And I definitely also had those, just negative associations with those Christian terminology. But yeah, I ended up with a whole stack of Course in Miracles songs that I didn't know what to do with.
And did this happen after you did the school with Katie?
Yeah, it happened
is it a connection? Because we are doing a workshop with the work and A
yeah.
Course in Miracles on Sunday. So I'm just curious.
I think it is very connected. Her book also, actually, I told you when I went to the library and picked up the Course in Miracles. At that same day, I also picked up Katie's book for the first time, The 4 Questions That Will Change Your Life. And, since the course is such a thick book, I started reading Byron Katie's book first. And her third question in her work process is, who would you be without this thought? Right? And when I read that question, who would you be without that thought, it just blew my mind. I never even thought of that, like what world would I live in if I wouldn't have this crazy thought, right? And that was so huge for me, and I instantly fell in love with her work and with her. And when I after that went through the course, when I finished her book, and I was just sort of like skimming through it and checking the lessons and stuff, and I recognized so much of Katie's work in the lessons, and my heart was just like, oh, this is like so exciting. This is what this is what Katie talked about, and now I see it in this book, and it felt also connected. And oh my, those 9 days of spending with her in that school of the work, it opened me up in so many ways. Like, it was just so amazing and so healing. So I do think it opened up something inside of me that made me ready, I guess, to receive these songs, because they weren't just songs. There was a whole there was a whole plan attached to those songs. So yeah, I think I was being prepared for everything to come after those songs. And that Katie helped me with that. So for sure, I think it's connected. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I do the work and have been doing for more than 15 years, and it kind of gives, I don't know, air into this very constricted thought system, so I'm
Yeah.
able to hear Holy Spirit through me. So
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
I have similar experiences. I didn't
Beautiful.
know this about you. It feels like
Uh,
it's so guided. It's so
I
guided.
know. Yeah, I love it.
Everything.
It's so practical too. It's so
Yeah,
practical, and I feel it goes so much hand in hand with the course for sure. Yeah.
it does. It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened then after you had written
Right.
all these beautiful
Right.
lessons, songs?
Well, so I had that whole stack of songs. I think about after 2 weeks they stopped coming, and it felt complete. But at that time, like I said, I was really on that rise of becoming this famous new Alicia Keys, and I just finished my bachelor's of music here in Rotterdam on the conservatory, and I won this huge prize here in Rotterdam that made me the music ambassador for a year and gave me a big money prize as well to make my EP and all of that. And these songs touched me so deeply. Like, I was crying with every song that came through. It just felt like this is a source beyond my own, like, knowing. Like, it came from so deep. But like I said, there was still this shame, and I put them away. And I do remember that I sort of addressed it in the board meeting for this prize that I won, because I had to make some sort of a CD. So I was sort of like saying, like, I can maybe do something with that. But they also instantly, they just reflected my own shame, right? And they were also like, no, that's not really that's not really such a good idea for now. Just record your commercial appropriate songs. And honestly, now that became When Lambs Become Lions, my first EP. It's a lot more commercial, you could say, than my work now, but it still has some very deep songs and some beautiful songs. When Lambs Become Lions, it's also a song about transformation and waking up. But yeah, so the rise in wanting to become famous, it continued. I got asked for The Voice of Holland, the big TV show, not long after these songs came through, maybe like half a year later. And I said yes. Finally, they asked me already many years, but now I felt like, yes, this is the time. I have my EP, I finished my bachelor's and I'm ready to launch my career. Um, and it was really there in that big spotlight, where I really realized that all of that glitter and glamour would never really give me what I truly desired, because there was this deep desire actually for God. I can say it now, and I was very ashamed of it then, but from small already. Like if you listen now to my new album, there's a song on it called Homesick. And I'm singing there, I'm home, but I'm homesick. And it comes from this deep sense of when I was a little kid that I would be home, in my own home. And I had a very lovely home. I have the most incredible, beautiful parents. But there would be so many times where I would feel so homesick while I was home. And I couldn't understand this feeling, and I couldn't place this, like, why is there something inside of me yearning to go back to a place that I don't even know, like what. And now I understand, like I was actually missing my true home, and I lost touch with God and with who I truly was. So from a young age there was already this yearning for, I don't truly belong here, like what am I doing here. And so I think I needed that big glitter and glamour world to really see that I wanted to go deeper. And at that time, also below the surface, everything that I was certain of, and again, like everything I basically talk about now, all turned into songs on my new album. Because what I'm sharing now is exactly what the song Dark Night of the Soul on my new album is about, where everything, it starts off by, all that I thought that was certain fell away. The ones I thought never would leave me couldn't stay. The road that seemed so clear before made sense no more. I sat down beside you and asked you, what is it all for? If I'm asleep, then wake me up. I wanna feel only love. It was this moment where everything that I thought that I was certain of, it just all wasn't certain anymore. And that that there was that dark night of the soul where I really did have that question of, okay, there has to be a better way. And I realized that I really builded my house on sand, instead of rocks. And I put my faith in the world, and I put my sense of, okay, if I'll do this and this and that, then I'll be happy. And I just realized that none of that would ever work. And it was in that TV show where in my mind there was just this shift. There was this very particular moment, and I can just see it in my mind as if it was yesterday, where I was standing in front of the judges after one of the live shows, and they were giving me their feedback, and I totally can't remember what they told me, but I do remember that in that moment in my mind I made a commitment to spirit, and I said, like, okay, like I'm in, like if I'm, the moment I get out of this show, I'll do it, I'll make a CD out of your songs, or like I surrendered myself, and I had absolutely no idea how that would look like. And it was a deep journey that started after that of learning how to trust, because I had no experience yet with stepping back and letting spirit lead the way. It was very much of me, and I know best, and being a leader. And now I'm like, I don't want to lead. I just want to follow, I want to follow the spirit, and I want to be I want to come from silence and praying and listening and following. And so yeah, after The Voice, I started with recording these songs and everything done by, okay, show me, who do I need to work with, and where is the money coming from, and what studio, all of these things. I didn't know anything. But whenever I would get out of the way, and that was a very long journey because, as I said, I needed some serious practice with this. But whenever I would get out of the way and I would hear the guidance come in so clearly, everything would fall into place. And my first album, Baby, was born, called The Light Has Come. And yeah, that's that. And then now I just released my second album, Remember You're Dreaming. And there's already new songs coming through. Like now I'm just so happy to be of service and use my voice in this way. So yeah.
How did you practice? It's so wonderful to hear the voice and follow the guidance, and so difficult.
Yeah.
How did you practice that? And how did you know when it was the voice and when it wasn't?
Well, I noticed that voice of guidance for me, it really comes from stillness, and it comes from like really putting aside my own like thinking of like I know what's best. So how I practice it is to just really hand over everything, and like not even say like people when they ask for guidance, it might go like, should I go left or should I go right, or should I do this or should I do that, and for me it's more about, well, maybe you shouldn't do any of those things, and in the end it's not even about those things in the form, it's about the purpose that is underneath of that. So whatever is handed to me to do, like if there's a new city that's coming, or now like the promotion of the city or whatever, I notice that my ego always wants to make the form very important, right? It wants to make, for instance, now it wants to make my album very important. It wants to say, oh, you made an album, and oh, now it needs to do, it needs to do this and it needs to do that, and the spirit is always reminding me, like, there is no album. In truth, there is no album. There is no you. There is no singing. All of this is just a backdrop for healing. And when I remember that, of like, oh, right, this whole me thinking that I am a singer, me thinking that I created this album, it is all set up so that I can heal my mind, so that these beliefs that are still in my unconscious mind about not being good enough and about being separated from God, that they can come up and be healed. And at the same time, of course, it can be helpful for other people. I do recognize that the music that I make, I get so many messages from people all over the world that it helps them, and but that is for me again also helpful because it motivates me to keep practicing and keep doing and keep forgiving and keep being on the path and being in my function. But so yeah, practically practice, becoming still and noticing your thoughts, and to not go too deep into those distraction thoughts. For me, meditation is not about not having any thoughts, but just to observe the whole monkey mind and the crazy stuff. And sooner and sooner it will become more quiet and more quiet. And then I often feel that, the inspiration, the guidance, it sort of comes up from behind of those thoughts, almost as if there's sort of like a veil, and from behind of that it can be a word or an image, or maybe somebody else tells you something and like, oh yeah, that's for me. Or the guidance can come in lots of different ways. Often people feel like, oh, they need to have a phone call with spirit, and like spirit, literally they hear that voice just as loud as they're hearing my voice right now. But it definitely, for me at least, it's often not like that. But like just this morning, just in a morning practice, it's the practice to just hand over the day. And well, I mean, like I don't have a normal steady job as most people. But I think even if you do, you can still incorporate this to be like, okay, I hand over this whole day, and what do you want me to do? Instead of trying to be in front and be like, oh, I'm so important and I know everything that I need to do, it's more like, no, the only thing I really need to do is forgive anything that comes up. The only thing I need to do is, to be truly helpful, and that is to remember who I am. So, then I remember who you are as well. And show me what that looks like in form. And you might see an image of something that is for you today, and maybe you'll be like, no, I can't do that. Maybe you notice, you see yourself taking a walk and you're like, oh, I can't take a walk, I need to work. And it's yeah, I notice the more I follow those inner prompts, joy always follows. That's always what I notice. Like, the guidance always is followed by a joy and a feeling of being in the flow. So yeah, it takes some practice, and it's also the practice to notice when you're out of alignment. I notice that as a feeling of being in the doer mode, and I notice it. I mean, it's a practice for me every day, where I notice, okay, I start off with something that feels guided, and I feel the flow, and then there's this moment where I do notice, I feel, okay, now it's enough. But then I want to go on, right? And push and be the doer and like get shit done. And then it feels not joyful anymore. It feels out of alignment. And then it's just a practice to, okay, pause, let go of your work. Maybe close your eyes again for a few moments, and just reconnect. Maybe take a little walk or do some shakes or some stretches and some breathing, and again come back to, okay, what would you have me do in this moment? What is helpful for me and for the entire universe? What would be helpful right now?
Yeah, so helpful to listen how you practice. Would you like to play a song for us before I ask more questions?
Yeah, sure. Do you have anything in mind that you would like me?
I was thinking about the one from your new album. I don't remember the name now. Is it home looking for your home, feeling homesick? Yeah. If you would like
I have to see if oh man. It's been a while since because all of these songs are new, so I haven't performed a lot of them. I have to see if I still know all of the lyrics, and of course I can put this with it. So I made this beautiful book. Do you have this book actually? Should send you one. So I created a beautiful book that goes with the album, with all the lyrics, but also with art, beautiful art from people all over the world.
Wow, I love it. Bring it to Sweden when you come.
I will. They're so beautiful.
Yes, wonderful.
And there's poems in there and Course in Miracles quotes, and all with the theme of waking up, remember you're dreaming. The CD is in the back too, but it's really just a bonus because a lot of people don't have a CD player anymore, but it's really about the book. But so let me look for the homesick song. The homesick song got one of the most beautiful paintings, I feel.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's just so gorgeous. It's by this painter called Autumn Sky. So now I know for sure that I have the lyrics. It just started playing by itself. It's this demo from the piano. It's like spirit saying, like, I got you. You don't need to do anything.
Exactly what I was thinking. Oh, the humor. Thank you.
Okay. I've been gone so long that not really here, and that there's nothing to fear, yet I still feel like all of this is real. I'm home, but I'm homesick. I'm feeling abandoned. Where is your love now that I need it? I'm home, but I'm homesick. Oh God, please hear me. Where is your love now that I need it? The road seems so long. I'm tired of being strong. Help me to hear the melody of your song. In the sunlight I'll stand while you're holding my hand, and I will see the world that only holds peace. I'm home, but I'm homesick. I'm feeling abandoned. Where is your love now that I need it? I'm home, but I'm homesick. Oh God, please hear me. I can't feel your love now that I need it. Oh, now that I need it, yeah. Oh, I can't feel your love now that I need it. Thank you. A slightly shorter version, but people can listen to the original song on Spotify or find my website, nedaboin.com.
And I relate so much to
Yeah.
this. And I was thinking, listening, that it's kind of that I accepted the feeling of homesick. And it's related to your story when you understand that the self-concept cannot give you what you truly desire. And for me, it was like I tried to accept the homesickness. And I traveled all over the world because I wasn't at home anywhere. So I could travel everywhere and be at home. And I think it came to a point where I understood this will never give me what I truly desire.
Yeah.
And that it's so true what you said. That is the turning point when I could understand that this is not giving me what I truly desire.
And then you're ready to go within. I'm reminded of a few years ago when I was I gave a concert in San Quentin State Prison. It's a huge prison in San Francisco. And so beautiful that there's so many prisoners there that study A Course in Miracles. You know, they all came with their course book to my concert. It was just so beautiful. And they got it, you know, they see the course as the real way out, not just the wanting to go out physically, but they see like, okay, the Course in Miracles is actually giving me the tools to really be free. And I was so touched by one of the men in there that I think he was in there for already about 50 or 60 years. And he told me with the most, bright, sparkling eyes, he said, how when he was younger, he would look for his happiness everywhere outside of him in money and drugs and sex and cars and whatever, anything outside of him. And he said the moment that he got into prison and he knew that, he would never really come out, he said, like, the only place that was left for me to look was inside of me. And he said, that's where I found it. And it gives me goosebumps again, just thinking of him, such a beautiful example of, the ego will constantly try to distract us and will say that our happiness is outside of us. And if only this, or even in relationships, if he would only do this, if he would only be a little bit more like that, or like him, or like then I would be happy, and it's always something in the future, and it will never come. And if it does, it's always temporarily, the ego instantly will come with something new. And it's like this donkey with, walking in front of the carrot and can never really get it. And this trick can go on for lifetimes, lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, until I know Jim Carrey once said, that he hoped that everybody could be as successful as him to realize that that's not it, right? Like the moment that we realize, okay, I've tried everything and I'm still not happy. And it doesn't even have to come that far, because I think a lot of people that study A Course in Miracles, they already had those lives probably, and they already come in this life in a state of like, oh, I just want to go home. Like I'm done with this whole reincarnating party every time over and over. Like, I want to really be free and go home. So and it's just a pathway. And I also always says, I teach in prison now for 8 years, and I always tell them, your path is not worse than mine. And every single path leads back home. There isn't a path that you can take that is wrong and that won't lead you home. Maybe it can take a little bit longer. There are different routes. But I always say, even if your path is that of being a mass murderer, even that path will eventually bring you back home. And that will be the path that is for you to bring up all of the unconscious guilt so that it can be healed. It's like whatever path we're on. I love how A Course in Miracles is saying, that God put a limit on our free creating possibilities, basically, right? So, okay, we might have created this whole illusion, seemingly. I mean, in truth, you can't create illusions. But there's a limit on how sort of like how we can miscreate, right? And we can never go up until the point where we actually separate ourselves from God. Like it's just not possible. So even within this illusion, which is an illusion based on separation, right? It's basically an experiment almost of like, what would the world look like if God wouldn't be there, if God would hate us, and if we would hate God, and if we would actually be separated. What would that look like? And then boom, okay, here's the world. But then even in that world, if you look more closely, it's like, no, even here, you can see it from two ways. You can also see that God is actually in everything that we see. It's even a lesson in the Course. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. I also made a song out of that on my first album, The Light Has Come. And then it all becomes a reflection actually of God. It all becomes a reminder of, nope, I'm still here. Like, you can create all of your crazy illusions, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here. So yeah, I think that's good news. However crazy dream we think we made up, it can never have a true effect on who we are. We don't have the power to separate ourselves from our source, because we are one. It's like the wave can't just take itself out of the ocean and go wave somewhere separately from the ocean. It's impossible. It's part of it. It's one. Yeah.
And that's where I can relax and rest.
Yeah, that's where you should relax
Yeah.
and rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Before we end, on the retreat, we will do voice liberation. Would you like to enlighten us a little bit about what that is and what we can expect?
Sure. Yeah, so voice liberation. A Course in Miracles says that it's not a course about love, because love is who we truly are. But it is a course that teaches us to undo the blocks to the love that we truly are. So it basically says, who you are is just perfect love. But because of these blocks that are blocking that, almost as if, clouds in front of the sun, you lost touch with who you truly are. And so therefore, the Course is saying, like, I'm not going to teach you that you're love, that or about that love, that's who you are, but we are going to go to those blocks to actually look like what is blocking who you truly are. And these are all of these false beliefs, these big dark clouds that are blocking this truth inside of us. And the way that the Course is mostly doing that is by relationships, right? It's a relationship book, actually, because take any relationship and it will instantly bring up the blocks. And if you don't know that they're actually projections of your own mind, and that they're actually projecting your inner wounds, then the relationships are so difficult. I mean, they're difficult if you know it, but they're even more difficult if you don't know it, because you'll keep searching for somebody else, and the blocks go with you, right? It will just, these patterns, they will repeat themselves. But so the Course is actually a very practical book with its 365 lessons as well, to find those blocks within ourselves and to release them. And I found that voice liberation is like a super help with that, with finding those unconscious blocks. And there's something about using the voice as this tool for healing. So voice liberation is absolutely no singing class. It has nothing to do with singing beautifully. Even though I must say that once you get in touch with your inner voice and you get in touch with that, the voice, like, I get tears and goosebumps from people that claim that they have the worst voice in the world, and I don't get this from people that sing beautifully in the world's terms. I get this when somebody is in touch with their inner everything and then sing from there, then it's like, oh my God, it's always so beautiful. But yeah, so with voice liberation, we really use the voice as a tool for healing. And it goes deep. It goes so deep every time. And I can't explain it. I never done any psychedelics myself, but I had so many people that come to me and say, like, oh my gosh, this was more even than my ayahuasca ceremony, or my, these psychedelics ceremonies that they do, that it feels very similar to a lot of people I heard. So yeah, it's just a super tool that we all have, our own voice. It's here, it's available, and I think it's been given us, to help us release these blocks and break through them. And yeah, I just want everybody to know about that, and that it's available. And it's something so interesting that this voice is so powerful, and yet this is the one thing that most of us learned not to use anymore, right? As little children, everybody is singing, everybody's dancing, it's all so free, and then there comes this moment, um, I guess also when the ego is getting more firmly stationized, or however you say it, getting more roots inside of us. Everybody stops singing, right? And they hear, shut up, and you're not so cute anymore at a certain age. So you learn to just shut up, and maybe only under the shower or in the car. So we unlearned to use this super powerful tool that has been given us to help ourselves get back in touch to our inner voice, our true voice. And it's funny that my name means inner voice. So I kind of feel that it's a Farsi, it's a Persian name, and it literally means inner voice. It's used a lot in poetry from Rumi and Hafez use it often in their poems. And so I feel that's kind of also what I really want to invite people to get back in touch with, get back in touch with that inner voice. And there's just some really practical things that you can do with your voice to get back in touch with your inner voice, and to release these unconscious blocks. And so in this retreat, we're going to have a full weekend where we're going to experience that. And I think the retreat for people in the retreat center is already fully booked, but there's some spots left for people that are local or that have a place to stay, and online. I know people can join online.
Yeah, we have, I think it's 8 spots for people who find somewhere else to stay, and people can connect with me, and I can help to find somewhere to
some
stay.
Airbnbs or
Airbnbs like and friends and other hotels, and we just find a way to do it. And online we have a lot of space. So one can always participate online.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just wanted to say that in the movie Take Me Home, one can see this happened with Søren from the beginning, how he is not, synchronized with his inner voice at all. And then when it happens, it's like, I don't know, the sun is shining again.
It's such a beautiful scene.
Such a beautiful scene.
You're right. You see the transformation, and I can share a bit about that because it was so beautiful. I didn't know anything about him before that, so even me watching back the movie, I'm like, oh my God, like this was his prayer. Like his whole prayer was becoming honest, right, and really not holding back anymore what he was really feeling. And so the only thing that I knew about him is what he shared at the beginning when I asked him, can you share a bit about what's going on for you? And, we started singing, and I think the line that he started singing was, I want to trust. I want to trust in you, right? Because he was sharing something about it. He had a hard time trusting in God and surrendering these things. So we try to sing that. But you can hear it, and this is how, the voice is so naked, it's so transparent, and it just can't lie. Like you'll instantly see, like, no, this is not true. Like you're lying. You don't want to trust, right? So he was singing it, and you can see in the scene, and whomever, maybe you can put the link in the show notes because it's just such a beautiful movie, and you can see that it's not authentic. Right? And you hear it in the voice as well. It's like, oh, this doesn't really give you goosebumps, or, it doesn't open your heart. You see, something's not right. And I remember, and this was just in the beginning of me really tuning into hearing the guidance. So it's also funny as well. We just spoke about, I heard the guidance of ask him to sing, I don't trust. And I heard it so clearly, ask him to sing, I don't trust. And I thought I had this judgment on that guidance, right? Like for this split second, was like, I can't say that. Like, that's not good, right? Like, I had this judgment on. I can ask him to say, like, I don't trust. But it was so strong of like, no, ask him to sing, I don't trust. And I was like, okay, well, we can try it. And you can see it in the movie, right? The instant shift, the moment, because this was honest for him. Like, he didn't trust. And the moment he was allowed to feel that, and he allowed himself to feel that, it became so much fun, right? It's just a sparkly, fun scene. It's just delicious to watch, right? It's, I don't trust, I don't trust. No, I don't. No, I don't. And it becomes so much fun. And giving that space brought up some new space for, but I want to trust, right? There's such a beautiful shift after that where it's like, oh, but I want to trust. And these are those steps, we can't spiritualize, we can't bypass our emotions. It just doesn't work. And we become this like, oh yeah, I want to trust in God. But if there's so much rage underneath of that is not allowed to be seen, it's not allowed to come up, it's not going to work. That's what this Course in Miracles is about. It's not about, just wearing white robes and being, oh, kumbaya all day. It's like, no, let's go to your anger. Let's go to your belief in guilt. Let's go to it. That's the core. Oh, every time, every page, the Spirit is saying, let's look. Let's go within. Do not be afraid to look within. I'm going with you, but you do have to look. And that's what we're doing with voice liberation. We go within and we give space to that which we've suppressed and what is now ready to come up and to be seen and to be released, so that there's space again for what actually wants to be present, which is the light. The light and the love that you are wants to shine, but it can't shine if it's covered in rage and in sadness and in guilt that hasn't been allowed to be there, right? That has been suppressed. So yeah, it's a beautiful example. I would definitely advise everybody to go check out that movie and check out that scene, because it's just so touching. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I can't wait to see
Uh,
you in March and do the
Me
retreat
too.
together.
Me too.
And we will do some readings, we will
Yes,
meditate, we
for
will
sure.
uh
Some walks.
also, yes, and also use the environment
For
in some
sure.
way. I don't know
For
yet
sure.
in what way, but it's so beautiful there.
Absolutely.
So we will find a way to maybe create a ceremony or something. We
For
call it
sure.
new beginnings because it's your new year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's also
Yeah.
we're gonna do it indeed in the Persian New Year, which is the beginning of spring. Which I always find makes way more sense to have the new year at the beginning
Yeah.
of spring than at the 1st of January, because it's a new year and everything is growing again. So it's a beautiful weekend to reconnect and realign and start fresh, let go of the past, and start new. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for allowing
uh,
me to interview you and for the song.
Thank you so much, Anna. I look so much forward to coming to you.
See you in
Really.
March.
See you in March. Bye.